The doctors gave me 24 hours, not in a dramatic tone, not with sad music playing in the background, just factual, clinical, as if they were telling me the weather forecast. We regret it, Miss Hartley, but the treatment hasn't worked. The leukemia has spread. Your organs are beginning to fail. We have, at most, 24 hours. We can make you comfortable. Comfortable. As if morphine and pity could replace life. So I waited until the night nurse made her rounds. I waited until the corridors went quiet, just the constant beeping of machines and the hum of fluorescent lights. And then I yanked the IV out of my arm, ignoring the sharp pain, the blood welling up. I put on my street clothes that were in the closet, jeans that were too loose now, a sweater that used to be snug but now hung off me, and the beanie. The colorful woolen beanie my best friend had knitted, red and green and gold, hiding what the chemotherapy had taken. I grabbed one thing from the nightstand, crumpled paper, folded and refolded so many times it was soft like cloth. My bucket list, written months ago when I still had hope. Now, just a memory of dreams that would never come true, except I wouldn't accept that. If I only had 24 hours, they were going to be mine, not theirs, not the hospital's, mine. I slipped out the back door, the alarm conveniently silenced for maintenance. The night swallowed me, cold and clean, the December air cutting my lungs in a way that almost hurt. But it was the pain of life, of the real world, not of needles and medicine. Snow was falling, light, delicate, covering the city in a white mantle. It was Christmas Eve. The streets were decorated with lights blinking red and green and gold. Illuminated trees shone in windows. Christmas music played from stores still open for last-minute shoppers. It was beautiful, and I was dying. I walked. I didn't know where. Just away. My feet led me downtown to the main square where the giant Christmas tree stood. It must have been 60 feet tall, covered with 1,000 lights, topped with a star that shone like a promise. I stopped. I looked up, and I felt it. Dizziness. The world tilting. Legs turning to water. No, not yet. Just a little longer. But my body wouldn't negotiate. I pitched forward, snow rushing up to meet me, and I thought I would die there, freezing beneath the Christmas tree, which honestly wasn't the worst way to go. But I didn't hit the ground. Arms caught me. Strong. Firm. Cold through my thin sweater. A voice, low and rich like dark velvet, spoke close to my ear. Careful, little one. Death will come soon enough without you rushing toward it. I forced my eyes open, and I looked up, and I forgot how to breathe. He was God. Beautiful wasn't a strong enough word. A face carved with impossible precision, an angular jawline, high cheekbones, lips that were art. Dark hair fell in waves to his shoulders, framing eyes that were gray? No, darker, almost black, and cold. So cold they should have scared me. But they didn't. He wore a black overcoat that must have cost more than a year's worth of medical treatment, a silk scarf around his neck, leather gloves. Aristocratic. Timeless. Completely out of place in a small town square. "Are you all right?" he asked, but there was something strange in his tone. Not worry, curiosity. "Define all right," I managed to say, my voice weaker than I intended. His lips curved, almost a smile. Fair enough. He set me on my feet, his hands holding me until my legs decided to work. And then he stopped, froze completely, his nostrils flaring slightly, and he inhaled, deeply, as if he were smelling expensive wine or rare flowers. His eyes, dark gray moments ago, darkened further, absolute black, and something in them, hunger. I should have run. Every instinct should have been screaming danger, but I was dying anyway. What could a handsome, terrifying stranger do that leukemia wasn't already doing? "Your blood," he said softly, more to himself than to me, "is singing a sad song, little one." I blinked. That is the strangest pickup line I've ever heard. He focused on me again, something like amusement crossing his face. "It's not a line, it's an observation." He tilted his head, studying me like a specimen. "You are dying, quickly. Your blood is fermenting, concentrating. It must be agony." It is, I admitted. No point in lying. But it's none of your business. Generally, it wouldn't be, he conceded. But you quite literally fell into my arms. And I am curious. His eyes fixed on the crumpled paper I was still holding. What is that? I looked down. My bucket list. I opened my mouth to say it was nothing, but he had already taken it, gloved fingers pulling it from my grasp with a speed that shouldn't have been possible. He unfolded it, read it, raised an eyebrow. Dance in the snow. Eat the world's best dessert. See the ocean. Kiss someone. Feel magic. He read aloud. He looked at me. Ambitious. They were, I corrected. When I wrote that, I had time. Now, I shrugged. Now I just wanted to see the Christmas tree. He went quiet, his eyes studying me with uncomfortable intensity. Then, abruptly, he smiled. Not a gentle smile. A predator's smile that has decided to play with its food. How about a pact, little Eva? I blinked. How do you know my name? He pointed to the paper, written at the top in my faded handwriting. Eva's list. Oh, right. I am Julian, he said, as if it mattered. And I propose something. I will be your fairy godfather for one night. I couldn't help it. I laughed. A harsh, painful sound, but real. Fairy godfather? You? Do you prefer genie? Guardian angel? He waved a hand dismissively. The title doesn't matter. The point is, you have a list. I have resources. And a night to kill. He paused, smiling wider. Poor choice of words. A night to fulfill. And what do you get out of this? He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. You let me be there, at the end. When your heart stops, when your last breath leaves you. I want to see it. It should have terrified me. It should have sounded monstrous. But coming from him, it sounded honest, curious, like a scientist wanting to observe a rare phenomenon. And frankly, dying alone in a hospital sounded worse than dying after a night of adventure with a strange, beautiful stranger. Why? I asked. Why do you care? I don't care, he said simply. I am bored. You are interesting. Your blood is interesting. Consider it a whim. I looked at him, at my list, at the Christmas tree shining behind him, and I thought, screw it. All right, I said. You have a deal, Julian Fairy Godfather. His eyes flashed, literally. For a second, I would swear they glowed red. Excellent. He offered his arm. Then let us begin. First item, dance in the snow. I know the perfect spot. I hesitated. I can barely stand. Dancing seems ambitious. Leave that to me. And then, before I could protest, he scooped me up, one arm under my knees, the other behind my back, lifting me as if I weighed nothing. Hey, hold tight, he advised. And then he ran. Not human running, impossible running. The world turned into a blur, wind whipping my face, snow turning into white lines. I should have been screaming, but I was laughing, the sound coming out broken and delirious. In seconds we ascended. Not stairs, just up. Along the sides of buildings, impossible yet real. And then we stopped. We were on top of the tallest building in the city. The roof was flat, covered in pristine snow, and all around the city stretched out like an illuminated map. Lights blinking, the giant Christmas tree at the center like a jewel. Here, Julian said, setting me gently on my feet, is perfect. I looked around, breathless. How did we do that? Magic, he said, and I couldn't tell if he was joking. Music began to play, not from a physical place, just in the air. A classical waltz, beautiful and melancholic. Julian offered his hand. Can you dance? I shouldn't be able to, I admitted. But I looked at the city below, at the sky above where the snow drifted softly down. At him. Let's try. He pulled me into a dance position. One hand held mine. The other settled on my waist. And we began to move. And miraculously, my body obeyed. The pain receded. The weakness vanished. We danced through the snow on the top of the world, waltzing in slow circles. His body was cold through his clothes. Not icy, but an absence of warmth, like dancing with a statue. And yet, his movements were fluid, perfect, guiding me through steps I'd never learned, but my feet followed instinctively. "How are you doing this?" I whispered. "Doing what?" "Making me not hurt. Making me able." He looked down, meeting my eyes, and for the first time, I saw something beyond curiosity, something softer. "It's not me. It's you. Adrenaline, determination, life burning brighter right before it extinguishes." Poetic. True. We danced until the music ended, and when it stopped, we stood there, breaths mingled, mine ragged, his. I realized he didn't breathe unless he spoke. "Thank you," I said. "You're welcome." He released me, pulling the list from his pocket. He crossed off the first item. "One down. Next, the world's best dessert. I know the place." And so the night continued. The patisserie was on a side street I had never noticed, even though I'd lived in this town my whole life. An old storefront, with faded gold letters that read, "Pâtisserie Leblanc, depuis 1897." It was dark, clearly closed for the holiday. Julian stopped in front of the locked door. He looked at me. "Wait here. It's closed." I pointed out the obvious. "Details," he murmured. And then he simply walked through the door. He didn't open it. He didn't break in. One second he was outside, the next he was inside, unlocking it from the interior, as if that were perfectly normal. He opened the door, gesturing. "After you." I stepped inside, hesitant. "This is breaking and entering." "It's borrowing," he corrected. "I'll leave payment." The interior smelled like heaven. Chocolate, vanilla, caramelized sugar, cinnamon. Each aroma layered in a symphony that made my stomach rumble, reminding me I hadn't eaten anything substantial in days. Julian flicked on the lights with a casual touch of the switch. The shop revealed itself in all its golden, cozy glory. Glass display cases exhibiting tarts, cakes, and sweets like works of art. Small chairs and marble tables, cream-colored wallpaper with delicate patterns. "Sit," he commanded, indicating a table. I sat, watching as he disappeared behind the counter, into the kitchen. Sounds drifted out, doors opening, dishes clattering. And then he emerged holding a tray. He placed it in front of me. It wasn't just one dessert. It was a selection. A small dark chocolate eclair, creamy filling oozing from the ends. A pale pink macaron. A tiny slice of tarte au citron with toasted meringue. A profiterole covered in caramel. And in the center, bite-sized petit fours, each decorated with intricate detail. "I can't eat all of this," I protested, even as my mouth watered. "Then eat your favorites. Life is too short for mediocre sweets." He paused. "Well, your life is." It should have sounded cruel, but coming from him it sounded factual, almost caring, in a strange way. I reached for the macaron first, put it in my mouth, and almost cried. It wasn't just sweet. It was memory. Childhood. All the good things that existed condensed into flavor. Raspberry and rose and something indefinable that was pure joy. "Good?" Julian asked, watching with fascination. "Transcendent," I murmured, already reaching for the profiterole. He sat across from me, chin propped on his hand, just watching. Not in a creepy way. More like admiration, as if watching someone eat was fascinating entertainment. "Aren't you going to eat?" I asked between bites. "I cannot," he said simply. "Diet?" "Something like that." His lips curved. "I have specific dietary restrictions." "Allergy?" "You could call it that." I didn't press him. Frankly, I was too busy having a religious experience with the tarte au citron. When I finally finished, I leaned back, hand resting on my stomach. "That was incredible. Good." He pulled out the list again, crossing off the second item. "Two down. Next, see the ocean. You are in luck. I have a fast car. The ocean is 3 hours from here. At legal speeds, yes." He stood, offering his hand. "Let us find out how long it takes at illegal speeds." The car was a work of art. Glossy black, sleek lines, an engine that purred like a predator. I didn't know cars, but even I recognized this cost more than most houses. Julian opened the passenger door for me. I slid into the leather interior that smelled expensive and new. He slipped into the driver's seat, the engine roaring to life with the touch of a button. "Seatbelt," he ordered. I obeyed. He didn't put his on, and then he accelerated. There was no word for the speed. The world turned into a blur. The white lines of the road became one continuous streak. Trees were dark smudges. I felt gravity pinning me back in the seat. I should have been terrified, but I was laughing. Laughing like a maniac, adrenaline flooding my dying system, making me feel alive in a way I hadn't in months. Julian glanced at me, a smile touching his lips. "You enjoy speed." "I enjoy feeling anything besides pain," I shouted over the engine's roar. Something flashed across his face. Understanding, perhaps even pity. He pushed the speed higher. We reached the coast in 45 minutes. Impossible, but real. He pulled over at a cliff overlooking the ocean, shutting off the engine. Silence fell, broken only by the distant sound of waves crashing on the beach below. I stumbled out, legs shaking. I walked to the edge of the cliff, looking down. The ocean stretched out endlessly, black beneath the night sky, but where the moon touched it, it shimmered silver. Waves rolled in, an eternal, indifferent rhythm. The wind smelled of salt and seaweed and something ancient. "It's beautiful," I whispered. Julian stood beside me, hands in his pockets, looking out at the water with a strange expression. "It is indifferent. The sea does not care if you live or die. It simply continues. Does that comfort you or frighten you?" He looked at me. "It used to comfort me. Immortality is a burden when you care too much. Easier when nothing matters. And now?" "Now." He paused. "I am less certain." We stood in silence, watching the waves. Then, impulsively, I took his hand. He froze, looking down as if he'd never seen clasped hands before. His skin was cold through the leather glove, but solid, real. "Thank you," I said. "For this. For everything." "We are not finished yet." His voice was softer than before. "You still have 2 items. Kiss someone. Feel magic." My stomach twisted, not with nausea, but something more complex. "Julian," I started. "Who are you?" "Really?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Do you want truth or comfort?" "Truth. I am old. Very old. I am dangerous. I should be far away from you. And I am being selfish, keeping you near because your blood sings in a way I have not heard in centuries. You keep talking about my blood, it's weird. Everything about me is strange, little Eva." He turned to face me. "But you still haven't run. Why?" "Because I'm dying anyway," I said honestly. "What could you possibly do that's worse?" He smiled humorlessly. "Many things." "Then why don't you?" "Because..." He paused, searching for words. "You remind me of something I lost a long time ago." "What?" "Hope. Light. The stupid, stubborn belief that life is worth living right up until the very last second." Tears filled my eyes. "It's not stupid." "No," he agreed softly. "It is not." The wind cut through me, and I shivered violently. The adrenaline was wearing off. The pain was returning. Weakness seeping into my muscles. Julian noticed immediately. "You are freezing." "I'm always freezing now. Poor circulation. The body giving up." He took off his overcoat without hesitation, wrapping it around me. It was massive on me, but warm from his body. Or at least it held my own warmth in. "Julian, you'll freeze." "I won't," he said with certainty. "Trust me." And strangely, I did. "We should go back," he decided. "You need rest." "I don't want to rest. Resting is wasting time. Not if you collapse and lose even more time." He guided me back to the car. "I know the place. Safe, comfortable. You can regain your strength." "Your words for, you are dying and need to lie down?" "Essentially, yes." I didn't argue. The truth was, the pain was returning with a vengeance. My bones ached. My head throbbed. Every breath was a knife. I got into the car. Julian drove slower this time, perhaps sensing my fragility, or perhaps prolonging it, making the time last. I watched out the window as we left the coast behind, the world streaming by in patches of light and shadow. And I thought, 24 hours. Now maybe 20, maybe less. But I had danced on top of the world. I had eaten magic. I had seen the eternal ocean. It wasn't a full life, but it was more than I had in the hospital. It was mine. Julian's apartment was a penthouse. Of course it was. The entire floor of the most elegant building in the city. A private elevator that opened directly into the living space. The door opened, revealing Gothic opulence. Not dark and heavy, but sleek. Charcoal gray walls, black and silver furniture, art on the walls, originals that looked centuries old, floor-to-ceiling windows showing a view of the entire city, and books, shelves covering an entire wall, volumes in dozens of languages. "You live here?" I asked, stunned. "Among other places. I have properties. This one is convenient." "Convenient," I repeated. "Right." He guided me to a soft leather sofa. "Sit. I will fetch something." I sat, sinking into cushions that were ridiculously comfortable. My entire body sighed in relief. Julian disappeared into another room. He returned holding a crystal decanter filled with dark red liquid. Wine, I thought, until he poured it into a glass and the smell hit me. It wasn't wine. It was metallic. Sweet. Unmistakable. Blood. I froze. Looked up. Julian was watching my reaction carefully. "You're not human," I said. Not a question. A statement. "No," he confirmed. "Not for a very long time." "What are you?" He sat across from me, the glass in his hand. "I think you already know, little one." Vampire. The word wasn't spoken, but it hung between us like a third presence. I should have been terrified. I should have been running. But I looked at him, at this being who had given me a magical night, and all I felt was curiosity. "Are you going to kill me?" I asked. "No." "Are you going to turn me?" "Not without permission." "Then why? Why help me?" He looked at the glass, swirling the liquid. "Because your blood sings. Because you are dying, and still choose to live. Because," he paused, "because 500 years ago, I was human, and I lost someone like you. Someone who burned so brightly that when she was extinguished, the world went dark." My heart squeezed. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was a very long time ago." He drank from the glass, an elegant motion. "But you remind me of her. The stubbornness. The light. She died?" "Plague. Quickly. No time for goodbyes or choices." His eyes met mine. "You have time. Not much, but some. Use it well." Silence fell. Then, "I still have 2 items on the list." "You do?" "Kiss someone. Feel magic." I looked at him. I think I've felt the magic already. This entire night has been magic." "Then cross it off. And the kiss." He leaned forward. "Yes?" Courage or madness possessed me. "Would you kiss a vampire?" His eyes widened, then narrowed. "Are you asking?" "I am." "Why?" "Because you are beautiful. Because you are gentle beneath the coldness. Because I die tomorrow and I want to know what it's like to kiss something immortal." He was very still. Then, slowly, he put the glass aside. He moved to sit beside me on the sofa, close enough that I could feel his coldness. "I could hurt you," he warned. "I'm going to die anyway. I could lose control." "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because you've spent 500 years controlling yourself. You won't fail now." He smiled sadly. "Such faith. Such hope," I corrected. And then he kissed me. His lips were cold, but not dead. Firm, moving against mine with careful control. Not passionate. Not desperate. Just soft. Questioning. I deepened the kiss, my hands moving up into his hair. He made a low sound, somewhere between surprise and pain, pleasure. When we separated, his eyes were no longer gray. They were brilliant crimson, and I saw them. Fangs. Small but sharp, touching his lower lip. I didn't scream. I just touched his face. "Beautiful." He laughed, a choked sound. "You are insane. I'm dying. It's the same thing." He pulled me against him, his face buried in my hair. "Ava." And then I felt it. My nose. Damp. Warm. I touched it. My fingers came back red. Nosebleed. Again. Worse this time. Julian froze. "Eva?" "It's all right," I murmured, even as the world began to spin. "It happens sometimes." But it wasn't all right. The world was darkening at the edges. My legs gave out. If Julian hadn't been holding me, I would have fallen. No. His voice distant. Not yet. Ava, stay with me. But darkness was pulling. And the last thing I felt before passing out was his arms around me. Cold, but holding me like he would never let go. I woke up with the taste of copper in my mouth and my body heavy as lead. For a moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then the memory came back in fragments. Julian, the night, the kiss, and then nothing. I opened my eyes slowly. I was lying in a huge bed, covered with silk sheets that were cool and soft against my skin. The room was dark, only a faint light coming from a lamp in the corner. And Julian was sitting in a chair beside the bed, elbows on his knees, head bowed, motionless as a statue. Julian. My voice came out rough. He lifted his head so fast it was a blur. In 1 second he was beside me, kneeling next to the bed, his hands grasping mine. Eva, thank God. He stopped. You passed out. The bleeding. I thought that I had died? I tried to smile. Not yet. Stubborn, remember? He didn't smile back. His eyes were still crimson, but darker now. Worried. How long? I asked. 3 hours. I tried to wake you. I couldn't. His jaw tightened. I couldn't take you to the hospital. Questions. But I didn't know what to do. So I just waited. And now I'm awake. I tried to sit up. Bad idea. The world spun violently. I fell back onto the pillows, a moan escaping. Don't move, Julian ordered. You are worse. Much worse. He didn't have to tell me. I felt it. Every cell in my body was screaming. The pain wasn't sharp now. It was deep, pervasive, as if my bones were rotting from the inside. How much time do you think I have? I asked. Hours, maybe less. His voice was flat, controlled. But underneath, I heard it. Desperation. Then the dream ends, I murmured. It doesn't have to end. The words came out fast, urgent. Eva, there is a way. Transformation, I finished. Becoming a vampire. He blinked. You knew? I suspected. Why else would you be so interested in a random dying person? I smiled weakly. I'm a charity project. One last good deed before you die. No, he said fiercely. You are not a project. You are... He paused, searching for words. You are the first interesting thing in a century. The first person who made me laugh, who made me feel. Julian, let me save you. His hands tightened on mine. Let me give you eternity. You don't have to die. Not like this. Not when there's a choice. I looked at him. At the perfect face. The red eyes filled with something that looked dangerously close to panic. What is the price? I asked softly. He hesitated. Then, blood. You will need it to survive. Human. Regularly. So I would kill. Not necessarily. You can take just enough. Leave them alive. But the hunger? It is constant, he admitted. Control is everything. But it is possible. And the sun? Mortal. You would live in the darkness. And food? Normal human things? Taste like ashes. Only blood sustains. I closed my eyes. So I would trade my mortality for a predator, a monster, a survivor, he corrected. Ava, leukemia is killing you. Transformation purges the disease. Replaces the mortal blood with something else. You would be strong, fast. You would never be sick again. You would never age. And I would never see another sunrise. He was quiet. I opened my eyes looking at him. Why does this matter so much to you? You met me hours ago. Because, he struggled visibly, because I have spent 500 years empty, dead inside. And then you fell into my arms, dying yet so alive, and something in me woke up, something I thought I had lost. What? The desire not to be alone. The words came out broken. I don't want to lose you. Not when I finally found someone who makes immortality feel less like a curse. Tears burned my eyes. Julian, that's not love. That's panic. Fear of loneliness. What if it is both? He held my face. Cold fingers against my fever. What if I told you that in a few hours you have become more important than centuries of existence? That the idea of a world without you is unbearable? You barely know me. I know enough. I know that you are brave, that you chose to live until the last second, that you kissed a monster without fear, that you are light, and you want to keep the light burning," I whispered, "even if it means changing it into something different. Yes. No shame. No hesitation. Yes." I was quiet, processing. Part of me screamed yes, to live, to continue, not to disappear into the void. But another part, "I've made peace with dying," I said finally. "I spent months preparing, saying goodbye, and now you offer an out, but the price, it is high," he admitted. "I will not lie. Transformation hurts, and afterward comes the hunger, and a different kind of loneliness, not of being alone, but of being different, set apart from humanity. Do you regret it? Being turned?" He was quiet for a long moment. There were centuries that I did. I hated what I was, what I had lost. But now, he looked right at me. "If I were not immortal, I would not have met you. So no, I do not regret it. It was emotional manipulation. I knew it. And yet, I need to think," I said. "You have hours, Ava. Maybe less. Then I will use them well." I tried to sit up again. This time, Julian helped me, placing pillows behind me. "Is there a way to lessen the pain? Until I decide?" He hesitated. "There is. My blood. A small quantity. It will not turn you, but it will help. Temporarily. Do it. Eva. Please, Julian. I don't want to spend my last hours in agony. I want clarity. To make the right choice." He studied my face, then nodded. "All right." He climbed onto the bed beside me, sitting against the headboard. He took a silver knife from the bedside table. "This will look strange," he warned. "Stranger than everything else that's happened today?" "Fair point," he murmured. And then he sliced his own wrist. Not deep. Just enough. Blood bubbled up. Dark red, almost black. He offered the wrist. "Drink. Just a little. Your human stomach cannot handle much." I looked at the blood. Every instinct told me it was disgusting. Wrong. But the pain was ripping through me, and the promise of relief. I took his wrist, bringing it to my lips. I hesitated. Then, I drank. The taste was metallic. Sweet. Strange, but not repulsive. And the moment it touched my tongue, something happened. Heat exploded through me. Not fever, but power. As if every dead cell was being awakened, forced back to life. The pain receded. It didn't disappear, but it became distant, manageable. Strength flowed into my weak muscles. The fog in my mind cleared. I pulled back, gasping. What was that? Vitae. Vampire blood. It has healing properties. Temporary for mortals, but he watched my face. Effective. I looked at my hands. Still pale, still weak. But the tremors had stopped. The ache had receded. "How long does this last?" "Hours. Perhaps 6. Then it returns. Worse. So I bought time." "We bought time," he corrected. He licked his own wrist, the wound closing instantly. "Use it to decide." I leaned against him, resting my head on his shoulder. He stiffened for a second, then relaxed, his arm coming around me. "Julian." "Yes? If I say no, if I choose to die, will you hate me?" He was quiet. Then, "No, I will respect it, and I will be there, as I promised. Until the end. And if I say yes, then I will spend eternity trying to make it worth it." I closed my eyes, feeling his slow heartbeat beneath my ear. Slow, steady, eternal. I had a choice. I truly did. To die in peace, naturally, as I had always planned. Or to live, transformed. A monster, but alive. With him. "Tell me about her," I said suddenly. "The woman you lost, the human." Julian tensed. "Why?" "Because I need to know. If this is about her. Trying to replace." A long silence. Then, her name was Isabel. I met her in 1523. She was everything. Light, laughter, love. When the plague came, I tried to save her. I offered the transformation. My heart squeezed. She refused. She died before she could choose. Too quickly. His voice was distant. I spent centuries wondering if she would have said yes. If we could have had eternity. And you think I am her. A second chance. No, he said firmly. You are you, Ava. Different, but equally luminous. I am not trying to replace. I am trying not to lose again. I turned my head, looking up. What if I leave anyway? What if I choose death? Pain crossed his face. Then I will survive, as I have always survived. But I will remember you, this night, as the last gift humanity gave me. Tears streamed down. That's not fair, putting that weight on me. I know, and I am sorry, but I cannot lie. He wiped my tears with his thumb. The choice is yours. It always has been. I will respect whichever it is, but I cannot pretend I don't care. I buried my face in his chest, sobs shaking me. He held me, his hand stroking my hair, murmuring words in languages I didn't understand, but that sounded like comfort. And I thought about life, about death, about what it meant to truly live. I was 23 years old. I had so much I still wanted to do, to see, to experience. But at what cost? My humanity? My soul? Or was that just fear talking? Fear of the unknown? How long do I have? I asked against his chest. Before your blood wears off? Maybe 5 hours now. Then I still have time. You do. Stay with me? Until I decide? I am not going anywhere. And there, in his arms, in a 500-year-old vampire's bed, with his blood in my veins and death knocking at the door, I tried to figure out if I wanted to live, even if living meant becoming a monster. We spent the next few hours in contemplative silence. Julian didn't pressure me. He just stayed there, solid and cold and constant, while my mind raced in circles. Eventually, I pulled away, sitting on the edge of the bed. He didn't hold me. He just watched, patient in a way only an immortal could be. Explain it to me, I finally said. The process. Exactly what happens. Julian sat up too, turning to face me. It is brutal. I will not sugarcoat it. I don't want you to sugarcoat it. I want the truth. He nodded. First, I drain you, nearly completely, until your heart is almost stopped. Then, you drink from me. A lot. Enough to replace the blood you lost. And then, you die. The words were harsh, direct. Your heart stops. Breathing ceases. To all effects, you are dead. The body enters something like stasis, while the vitae works. Works how? Killing everything that is mortal. Human cells, organs. Replacing it with something different. That is why it hurts. Your entire body is being rewritten at a cellular level. I swallowed hard. How long? Hours. Maybe a full day. It depends on the person. And during that entire time, you feel it. Everything. Every cell dying. Everyone being reborn. It is... He paused, an ancient memory crossing his eyes. It is like burning alive from the inside out. But you cannot scream because you are dead. Horror filled me. And you went through that? I did. 500 years ago. And I still remember every second. How did you survive? I had no choice. My sire did not ask. He simply transformed me. Bitterness in his voice. I awoke immortal, hungry, and he was gone. Left me to figure it out alone. That won't happen to me? No. Firm. Absolute. If you choose this, I stay. Through everything. The pain. The transformation. The awakening. And afterward, I teach you. Everything you need to know. You will not be alone. And the hunger? When I wake up, it will be intense. All you think about. All you want. Blood will consume you. But I will have supply. You will not need to hunt immediately. You can learn control first. And what if I can't control it? What if I hurt someone? Then I stop you. No hesitation. I am stronger. Older. If you lose control, I contain you until you regain it. I looked at my hands, still trembling slightly, even with his blood in me. What about my family? Friends? Everyone will think I died. They can continue thinking that. Or... He hesitated. Eventually, when you have control, you can visit them. From a distance. Just to see they are all right. But never really see them. Never hug them. Because I won't age and they will. Yes. The ache of that was sharp. My mother. My father. My best friend Sarah, all mourning the empty grave while I walked in the darkness. What if I regret it? Afterwards, Julian was quiet. There is no undoing it, Eva. Immortality is permanent. If you hate it, if you decide it was a mistake, the only way out is true death. Stake, fire, decapitation. So suicide, essentially. I closed my eyes, my breath trembling. Why do you want this? Truly. It's not just loneliness. What else? A long silence. Then, because when I look at you, I see the possibility of partnership, of someone who understands immortality because she chose it, not because it was forced upon her. He paused, a raw vulnerability in every word. Of love, true, eternal. Not just human love that passes in the blink of an eye, but something that lasts. You barely know me, I protested. How can you speak of love? I'm not speaking of love now. I am speaking of potential. He took my hand. We have eternity to get to know each other, to build something, but only if you choose to live, or I choose to die and you forget. I will not forget. Never. His red eyes glowed. You will be a ghost that haunts me for centuries. That is emotional manipulation. It is truth. I pulled my hand away, standing up. My legs shook but held. I walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Christmas lights blinking. People moving, alive, human, unaware of the monsters among them. My faith, I said suddenly. I believe in a soul, in heaven. If I turn vampire, is that damnation? I do not know, Julian admitted. I am 500 years old and I still haven't figured that out. Perhaps heaven rejects us. Perhaps it accepts us. Perhaps it does not exist. I cannot promise you salvation, Ava. Only existence. Existence as a predator. Yes. I turned to him. Have you killed? People? He didn't look away. Yes. In the early years, when I had no control. And sometimes later when they deserved it. Deserved it? Human monsters. Murderers. Predators. I used my nature to cleanse. Justice. Or perhaps just justification. He stood, walking until he was close, but not touching. I will not lie about what I am. I have killed. I will kill again. But not innocents. Not for a very long time. And I would have to do the same. Eventually, perhaps. Or you can survive on hospital blood. Donations. It is not as satisfying, but it works. I looked at him. At this being of contradictions. Monster and gentleman. Killer and savior. If I say yes, I started slowly. What life would we have? Exactly? Something like hope flickered in his eyes. Any you desire. Travel. The entire world is open. Centuries of art, music, culture. We can witness history, or we can stay quiet, read, learn, just exist. Together? Together, he confirmed. If you wish it. And if I decide I don't want you? Later on? Pain crossed his face. Then you are free, always. I will not cage you. I will not compel you. Transformation binds you to me as your sire, but not as my prisoner. But you hope. I hope that with time you choose to stay, not out of obligation, but because you want to. He touched my face, so gentle. But if you do not, I let you go. With pain, but with respect. Tears filled my eyes again. This isn't fair. You're being perfect and rational and I just want to... What? I want to live. The words exploded out of me. I want more time. I want to see everything. Do everything. I don't want to disappear at 23 with so much life unlived. Then live, he said simply. Choose. But the price? It is high. I do not deny it. But Ava, you are dying now. The leukemia is not waiting. In hours, maybe less, you will be gone. The choice is not perfect life versus monstrosity. It is existence versus the void. You don't know it's the void, I argued. There might be heaven. Peace. There might, he agreed. And if there is, you deserve it. But what if there is not? What if it is only nothing? Then you lose everything. Every experience, every sensation, every moment you could have had. With you. With me, or without me. But living. I turned, pacing away. hands in my hair. I was ripped, absolutely divided. Part of me screamed yes, to live, to continue, to experience eternity. Another part whispered no, to keep my humanity, to die in peace, not to become a predator. I need air, I said suddenly. Balcony, Julian pointed. This way. He followed me, opening a glass door. I stepped onto the large balcony, the city spreading below like a map of stars. Cold air hit my face. It smelled of snow and car exhaust and life. I leaned on the railing, looking down. So high up, so far from the ground. Afraid of heights? Julian asked behind me. No, just thinking how fragile it is. Life. One fall. 1 second. And it's over. It doesn't have to be over. I turned to him. Julian, be honest. Completely honest. Do you regret it? Immortality? Everything you lost? He looked out at the city, thoughtful. There are days I do, when I remember the sun on my face, the taste of real food, the warmth of growing old with someone I love. Those days, I hate what I am. And other days I stand in a museum looking at art I saw being created. Or I read a book in a language I helped preserve. Or I simply exist, knowing that I continue when all else passes. Those days I am grateful. Which is more common? Honestly, he looked at me. Until tonight, it was the bad ones. More regret than gratitude. But now you are here. And for the first time in centuries, immortality feels like a gift instead of a curse. Because I can share it. My heart squeezed. Don't make this about you. My choice has to be mine. You are right. I apologize. He stepped back. I am being selfish. But I cannot help it. You are the first thing that has made me want tomorrow in a very, very long time. Silence fell. Then, softly, how much time do I have? Before your blood wears off? He looked at me, assessing. Perhaps 2 hours. Then, it returns. Worse than before. Then I need to decide. Yes. I looked up at the sky. Faint stars through the light pollution. A crescent moon hidden behind clouds. And I thought about everything. Life, death, choice, consequence. I thought about my mother who raised me alone after my father died, who worked double shifts to pay for treatments, who cried holding my hand when the diagnosis came. I thought about Sarah who knitted the colorful beanie, who spent nights in the hospital with me, who promised to make my eulogy funny so I could laugh wherever I was. I thought about the doctors who tried everything, who failed not for lack of trying, but because the human body is fragile. I thought about Julian, 500 years of loneliness, looking at me as if I were the answer. I thought about me, Eva, 23 years old, barely started, so much unaccomplished. And finally I whispered, if I do this, if I choose the transformation, will you promise me something? Anything. Promise to teach me how to make it worthwhile. To live, not just exist. To be more than a hungry monster. I promise. No hesitation. And promise that if I hate it, if I regret it after a century or two of trying, you let me go. Truly. Even if it means the end. He was quiet. Then, I promise. I took a shaky breath. Then I stopped. My body convulsed. Pain exploded, sharp and brutal. His blood was wearing off. The defenses were crashing down. I fell to my knees, a scream tearing through my throat. Julian was there instantly, catching me. Eva. No, not yet. Wait. No. Time. I gasped. Blood filled my mouth. More hemorrhaging. Internal this time. Organs failing. I was dying. Now. Not hours. Minutes. Julian looked at me in terror. Eva, I need to know. Yes or no. Quickly. I looked up at him through the pain, at the red eyes filled with desperation. And with my last strength, I whispered, yes. Do it. I stay. Relief and terror flashed across his face. Are you sure? I am. I pulled him closer, my hand clutching his shirt. Don't let me die, Julian. Please. Not like this. He pulled me against him, his face buried in my neck. I won't. I promise. It will hurt. I don't care. Just save me. And then I felt it. Fangs piercing the skin. Pain. Then, euphoria. The world began to darken. But before I went completely, I heard his voice. "Stay with me, Eva. Just a little longer, please. Stay." And I tried. God, how I tried. The pain came in waves. First, the bite. Sharp, piercing. Julian's fangs sinking into the skin of my neck like hot needles. Then, the draw. I felt my blood being pulled, drained, every beat of my heart pumping more life out. It should have been terrifying. I should have fought. But I didn't fight. Because along with the pain came something else. Ecstasy. As if every nerve ending was catching fire in a delicious way. As if I were melting and exploding all at once. My fingers clawed at Julian's shoulders, not pushing away, but pulling him closer. He made a low sound against my skin. Half moan, half growl. His arms tightened around me, holding me like he would never let go. The world started to blur at the edges, sounds becoming distant, vision darkening. My heart, which had been thundering moments ago, began to slow, stumbling. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Julian, I tried to say, but no sound came out. Just air, just silence. He pulled back abruptly, his lips stained red, his eyes glowing pure crimson. "Now," he said, his voice raw. "Now you drink." He brought his own wrist to his mouth and bit down. No hesitation, no gentleness. He tore his own flesh, blood spurting out, and he pressed the wound against my lips. "Drink, Eva, drink." The taste flooded my mouth. Metallic, sweet, strange. But something in me, something primal and desperate, recognized it. Life, power, salvation. I drank. Not delicately. Desperately. Clutching his arm with both hands, pulling him closer, sucking with a strength that should have been impossible for someone so weak. And his blood. It was liquid fire. Rushing down my throat, burning, filling, transforming. I felt my heart stumble again. Then stop. Completely. Absolute silence in my chest. No beat, no pulse. I panicked. I tried to gasp for air. Nothing. Lungs did not respond. I was dying. Truly dying. Julian held my face with his free hand, forcing me to look at him. "Don't stop. Keep drinking. It is the only way." So I drank. Even when fear screamed it was wrong, that the dead didn't drink, that this was madness. I drank until Julian pulled his wrist back, the wound already healing. "Enough," he said. "More would hurt you." He laid me back on the bed, positioning me carefully. My eyes were open, but I couldn't see properly. Everything was blurred, unfocused. Julian knelt beside the bed, holding my hand. "Now comes the hard part, the transformation. Eva, you are going to..." He paused, his voice cracking. "It is going to hurt, very much, but I can do nothing but stay. Just remember that it is not forever. It will end, and when it ends, you wake up." I tried to answer. I couldn't. My mouth wouldn't move. My body wouldn't respond. I was trapped, in a dead body, conscious but immobile. And then it began. Fire. In my blood. In my veins. As if someone had injected lava directly into my circulatory system. I screamed, or I tried. No sound came out. No air. No voice. The fire spread, from the core organs to the limbs, burning, consuming, killing every human cell and replacing it with something different. Bones cracked, not breaking, but reforming, hardening, becoming denser. Muscles tore and rebuilt themselves, stronger, faster, and through it all, pain. Unbelievable, unbearable. If I could have screamed, I would have. If I could have moved, I would have thrashed. But I was trapped, paralyzed, only feeling. Tears leaked from the corners of my eyes, the only parts of me that still worked. Julian wiped them away, his voice breaking as he spoke. I know, darling. I am so sorry, so very much. But it will pass. I promise. It will pass." I didn't believe him. How could I? The pain had no end. It just went on, and on. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time had no meaning, only pain. And then, slowly, something shifted. The burning began to recede, not disappearing, but settling, transforming from acute agony into a deep, pervasive hum. My senses, dead moments ago, began to awaken, but not as before. Everything was amplified. I heard everything. The ticking of a clock somewhere, Julian's unnecessary breathing beside me, the hum of electricity in the walls, voices on the street, many floors below. I smelled blood. My own, now different, no longer sick but potent. Julian's, rich and ancient. And beyond, the city, millions of smells, food, exhaust, and blood. So much blood, heartbeats like war drums. And I felt the hunger, not hunger for food, hunger for blood, deep, consuming, as if I were empty and only one thing could fill me. My eyes snapped open, not gradually, instantly, like flipping a switch. And the world, it was different. The colors, so vivid they hurt. Reds were scarlet, blues were sapphire, everything bright and saturated. And Julian, I saw him, truly saw him. Every detail, every strand of hair, every eyelash, the texture of his skin, the pattern of his iris. He was beautiful, he always was, but now he was a work of art. Eva? His voice was hope and fear mingled. Are you back? I tried to speak. My throat was dry. My voice came out husky. Strange. Julian. Relief flooded his face. Thank God. Yes, you're here. You made it. I tried to sit up. My body obeyed, but too fast, too quickly. I was standing before I processed the movement. I swayed. Julian stabilized me. Slowly. Everything is faster now, stronger. It takes time to adjust. I looked at my hands. Pale. Paler than before, but not sickly. Perfect. No tremors, no weakness. I touched my neck. The bite marks had healed, leaving only faint scars. How long? I asked. 8 hours. It was fast. Some transformations take days. It felt like an eternity. I know. He touched my face. I know. And then I felt it. The hunger, roaring back to life, consuming every thought. Blood. I needed blood. Now. My eyes went to Julian's neck, the visible pulse beating beneath the skin. Slow. Steady. Tempting. No, he said firmly, backing away. Not from me. Not yet. You need to learn control first. It's hurting. I gasped. The fangs, which weren't there before, descended. Sharp. Ready. I know. Come. He guided me out of the room, into the kitchen. He opened the refrigerator. Inside, bags of blood. Dozens of them. Labeled. Dated. Hospitals discard expired units, he explained. I collect them. It's not as good as fresh, but it is safe. It is enough. He pulled out a bag, tore the corner with his own fangs, and offered it. I snatched it. Without dignity, without control. Only hunger. I drained it in seconds. It did not satisfy. It was like drinking water when I needed a meal. Another, I demanded. My voice didn't sound like mine. It was deeper, huskier. Julian handed me another, and another, and another, until finally, after 4 bags, the hunger receded. It didn't disappear, but it became manageable. I leaned against the counter, unnecessarily gasping for breath. I looked at my red-stained hands. God, what am I? A vampire, Julian said simply. Like me. Welcome to immortality, Eva. I looked at him, at this being who had turned me, who promised eternity, and I felt everything. Anger at being turned even though I knew I agreed. Gratitude for being alive. Fear of what I had become. And something else. Something warmer. The sun. I remembered suddenly. Is it daytime? It is. He pointed to the windows. Thick blackout curtains covered each one, blocking the light completely. Christmas morning. But not for us. Not anymore. I'll never see another sunrise. No. Raw honesty. I am sorry. I was quiet. Then, was it worth it? The pain, the turning. Is living worth it? Julian looked at me for a long moment. Then he walked to me, cupping my face in his hands. Ask me again in 100 years. But now, in this moment, with you here, alive and eternal, yes, it is worth every second. What if I change my mind? Then we change together. He kissed my forehead. But for now, let's discover who you have become. And as I stood there, in a 500-year-old vampire's kitchen, covered in blood, dead yet more alive than ever, I thought, my bucket list was over. The human one. But the immortal one, it was just beginning. The next few days were strange. Not days, technically. Nights. Because day meant death now. Sunlight was the mortal enemy. Julian taught me. Patiently. Tirelessly. He taught me how to move without breaking things. Vampire strength meant a casual touch could crush. To hold a teacup without reducing it to shards. To open a door without ripping it off the hinges. He taught me to control my senses. How to filter out the cacophony of sounds. How not to be overwhelmed by every smell. How not to see every detail simultaneously until I went insane. He taught me about the hunger. How to recognize when it was coming. How to satisfy it with stored blood before it became dangerous. How to never, ever let it take complete control. Control is everything, he repeated countless times. Lose control and you kill. And killing an innocent is a line you cannot uncross. I practiced. I learned. I adapted. And slowly, very slowly, I began to feel less like a monster and more like a person. Different, yes, but still me. 3 nights after the transformation, I woke up at sunset feeling something different. Not hunger, not pain, but restlessness. Julian was in his study, reading as he always did. Centuries of knowledge absorbed in ancient and modern books. Julian? I stopped in the doorway. He looked up, smiling. He smiled more now, since the transformation, as if a weight had been lifted. Yes? I need to go out, to see the world. This version of it. He closed the book. It is dangerous. You are still learning control. I will stay close to you. I promise. I just need to see it. The city. The life. Everything I lost and gained. He studied me, then nodded. All right, but stay at my side. Any sign of losing control, we return immediately. Deal. We left when the complete darkness fell. The city at night was different. Through my new eyes, it was alive in a way I had never seen. Lights shone brighter. Movement was more fluid. And the people, God, the people. Each one a walking war drum, heartbeats thundering, blood singing. I grabbed Julian's hand. He squeezed back. Breathe. Focus on me. I did that, looking at him, only him, until the world receded. Better. We walked. Just walking. Through the Christmas-decorated streets. Store windows still glittering with lights. Trees still illuminated. It's beautiful, I murmured. I didn't remember it being this beautiful. You had 24 hours to live the last time you saw it, Julian said gently. There was no time for appreciation. And now I have all the time in the world. Yes, you do. We stopped in the same square where we met. The giant tree still there, still shining. It feels like a lifetime ago, I said. It was a lifetime ago. Your mortal life. I looked down at my hands. Pale, strong, eternal. I miss it, sometimes. The sun, the taste of real food, a beating heart. Regret comes in waves, Julian said. Some days worse than others, but it passes, or at least, it becomes familiar. How do you cope? I remember why I chose to continue. Or in my case, why I eventually accepted what was forced upon me. He looked at me. And now, I have a new reason. Me. You. He pulled me closer. Ava, these 3 days, watching you learn, adapt, become, it has been more alive than I have felt in centuries. You've been alive for 500 years. I was existing. There is a difference. He held my face. Now I am living. Because you are here. Tears should have come. But vampires didn't cry. Not water. Only blood. And I wasn't sad enough for that. I love you. The words came out before I thought. I know it's early. I know we barely know each other. But Julian, you saved me. In every way. And I love you. His eyes widened, then softened. Ava, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. But I want to say it back. He leaned in, his forehead touching mine. I love you. Since the first night. since you fell into my arms smelling of mortality and courage. I love you." And then we kissed. Right there, under the Christmas tree, in the square where we met. But different this time. Not human and vampire, but two immortals. Equals. Eternal. When we separated, he smiled. "I have something for you." "What?" "Close your eyes." I did, trusting him. I heard the sound of fabric rustling. Then, "Open." I opened them. He was holding a paper, not old and crumpled, but new, blank. "A new bucket list," he said. "For a new life. What do you want to do, Ava?" "With eternity?" I looked at the paper, at the infinite possibilities. "Everything," I whispered. "I want to see everything. Every country, every piece of art, every star. I want to learn every language, read every book, experience every moment. Then we shall." He pulled a pen from his pocket, handing it to me. "Start writing." So I wrote. Under the light of the Christmas tree, in an empty square, on a Christmas morning that I would never see dawn. Eva's new list. 1. See the aurora borealis. 2. Visit every continent. 3. Learn the piano. 4. Read the Library of Alexandria, if Julian knows where the originals are. 5. Witness a solar eclipse from the safety of the shadow. 6. Master 10 languages. 7. Find a purpose beyond survival. 8. Make a difference even as a monster. 9. Love completely. 10. Live without regrets. Julian read over my shoulder. Ambitious. I have time. We have time, he corrected. We will do it together. I looked up at him. Promise? Eternal promise. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into, well, time became strange when you don't age. I learned control. Real control. I could walk among humans without wanting to drain everyone. I could touch without breaking. I could exist without a constant battle against my instincts. I visited my mother, from afar, just to see that she was all right. She was at the cemetery, in front of the headstone with my name, fresh flowers at the base. It hurt, more than I expected, to see her mourn me. Julian was at my side, his hand holding mine. Do you want her to know? That you are alive? No. It would be selfish. She will move on. Eventually. And you? I will carry the guilt. But I will survive. Because living, even with guilt, is better than the alternative. He kissed my temple. Whenever you want to visit, I will bring you. Always. We began to travel. First locally, then farther afield. Paris, Tokyo, Cairo. Every city at night was different. Every culture had its own flavor. And with Julian beside me, sharing centuries of memories, history came alive. I fed mostly on blood bags, but Julian taught me to hunt. Not innocents, predators, men who hurt others, human monsters. Vigilante justice, he called it. It is not perfect, but it keeps the conscience manageable. I learned to play the piano. Vampire fingers had precision. My memory was perfect. In 6 months, I played like a professional. I learned languages: Japanese, Arabic, Russian, Mandarin. Each one became fluent in weeks. And I learned to laugh again. Truly laugh, not in spite of what I was, but because of it. Because immortality, with the right person, was not a prison. It was freedom. 1 year after the transformation, we were in Iceland, chasing the aurora borealis. We stood on a mountain, far from civilization, watching the sky dance in greens and purples and blues. It's beautiful, I whispered, lying next to Julian in the snow that felt no colder than the air. It is, he agreed, but he was looking at me, not the sky. You aren't even looking. I have seen the aurora 1,000 times, but you seeing it for the first time, that is new. That is magic. I turned to him, smiling. You are ridiculously romantic for a 500-year-old vampire. Only for you. Good. I kissed him. Long. Deep. A promise of all the time we had. When we separated, he took something from his pocket. A small box. Black velvet. My dead heart still managed to leap. Julian, I know, he said quickly. I know we do not need human ceremony, that we are beyond it. But he opened the box. A ring. Not traditional gold, but platinum and ruby, red like blood, like life. But I want to. I want you to be mine. Not just companion, not just creation, but choice, partner, wife, if that still means something. Tears of blood filled my eyes. It means everything. Then, Eva Hartley, 1-year-old vampire, love of my existence. Marry me? Yes. No hesitation. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto my finger. Perfect, as if it always belonged there. Forever? He asked. Forever, I promised. And there, beneath the dancing aurora, in the land of ice and fire, 2 immortals exchanged vows. Not until death do us part, but until eternity runs out. And as we kissed, snow falling softly around us, I thought, a year ago, I was dying. 24 hours of life, waiting for the end. Now, I had all the time in the world, and every reason to live it. Julian was right. Immortality wasn't a curse, not when shared with the right person. It was a miracle of blood. Thank you for being here and for joining me for another story. I truly hope you enjoyed it. If you want, leave your comment. I love reading what you feel and think after each episode. Thank you for the love, and see you in the next story.